Once you visit this city, you won't want to leave. That's what a lot of people told us when we said we were going to spend a couple weeks here. So we're going to take a look at what makes this city so special and let you know if we did or did not want to leave.
But before we dive in, if you're dreaming about living a global lifestyle like we do, then hit that subscribe button because it might be easier than you think and we can help you do it.
We are, of course, talking about Prague, one of the most famous cities in the world, and for good reason. We were there for 2 weeks in the middle of June after spending 2 weeks in Riga, Latvia.
You can check out that video next if you want to be pleasantly surprised by an underrated city.
That city was so underrated.
It was.
I hated to leave. Took us a couple of days to get settled into Prague. We didn't like it immediately like we expected to, but I think that was mainly because we were really sad to leave Riga and Vienna before that. We didn't want to leave either of those places.
Boy, I'm really glad we took that trip to Prague. It was amazing.
It was. The currency there is the Czech koruna, which translates to crown. So I would always say crown, and Millie's like, what are you talking about? It's like, that's what koruna means.
Now I know. You can drink the tap water there, and I gotta say the tap water was excellent.
It was really good. And you can flush the TP there, which is nice. A lot of our viewers care about that. The electricity is the standard European 2-prong plug, and our internet was super fast. We had 150 meg up and down.
Yeah, it was very stable. We had fabulous weather while we were there. That was a big change after being in Vienna and Riga, where we were pretty chilly. Oh, and Bratislava too. But it was beautiful and sunny, and it only rained once.
Yeah, the temps were actually well above normal, 10 to 15 degrees above normal during our stay.
Yeah, it actually felt hot to me after being in those other cooler climates. Of course, it was later on and approaching true summer, so there was that to consider.
I was surprised that the sun rose so early. 4:52 a.m. sunrise and a sunset at 9:16, so we had a lot of daylight to work with.
Yep, once again, we did not stay out past dark.
No, we never do. Okay, so the airport is about 30 minutes from Prague 2, where we stayed, and we took the Uber Airport is like the only official ride share from the airport. It was $34 to do that, which was $15 more than we could have done with a Bolt, but the Bolt doesn't pick you up in the airport like the Uber Airport does, so we just went with the official one.
They also have buses, trams, and metro that will take you all over the city, plus they have a central train station that will take you to other countries and throughout the country as well. That's part of the Euro-Rail network, and we took the train for a 2-night trip from there. The train station was a bit hectic, and it was kind of confusing, so if you've never been there before, make sure to give yourself extra time.
Yeah, there was nobody around to ask questions either. It was completely packed. The board where it shows you where your train is leaving from has numbers, and then the signs have letters, so we weren't sure where to go, but give yourself extra time because it is a bit confusing, crowded, and chaotic.
Yes, but we didn't have any trouble getting on our train. The train was a bit more expensive than I was expecting, although I guess in retrospect it really was a pretty good price. We took a 2.5-hour train ride and it cost $35 each, and that was one way.
That was more than we spent in Vienna.
It was.
Prague does charge a city tax. We spent 1,500 crown for our 15 nights there. It's 50 crown per night per person. That translates to $2.37 per night per person and applies to your first 60 days of your stay. And we stayed in Prague 2, which is right outside the main center, which is Prague 1. And it is a lot more affordable and less touristy, but still walkable. It was about a 20 to 25 minute walk into Prague 1 in the Old Town area, so it wasn't too far away.
I'm really glad we stayed there because parts of the Old Town area were very crowded at times, and I like to be more in a neighborhood situation. I really liked that we were so close to a grocery store, but also to that park and to that incredible fortress. So I was glad that we were able to go for our morning walks and avoid the crowds and go through that beautiful park and then see all the history at the same time.
I know, it was pretty cool. I did enjoy walking over there to that fortress area.
Well, and remember there was that farmer's market that was right there too in the river. Highly recommend staying in that location. When we landed in Prague, before we connected to the airport Wi-Fi, the first thing we did was make sure our VPN was on, as it always is, because we make sure to stay protected when we're using public networks, and that is why we are so excited to talk about Surfshark, today's sponsor. We've been traveling throughout Europe and using public Wi-Fi in airports, train stations, hotels, Airbnbs, restaurants, cafes, and more, and we always use a VPN to protect our privacy. Surfshark secures our data and our identity by protecting us from hackers, phishing scams, and ransomware attacks, and they never log or collect our data, so we feel safe knowing that no one is tracking us. We also use Surfshark for streaming. We realize different programming is available in different countries, so we use the VPN to change our virtual location so we can watch our favorite shows everywhere we go. Right now, Surfshark has a great offer. You get 4 months extra. With Surfshark, you get 24/7 support. You can use it with all your devices, and there is no risk to try because you get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Scan this QR code here, or go to surfshark.com/AAJP, or use code AAJP at checkout to get 4 months extra of Surfshark VPN.
Now let's talk about walkability. We walked everywhere in Prague. We kept saying we should take the tram, but we just didn't need to. We always prefer to walk when we can. And we walked like 8 to 11 miles several of the days that we were there.
Yep, my feet, legs, buns were pretty sore on a couple of days, but I have no regrets because we saw so much. And besides walking in the park, which I already said how much I loved, we walked along that river and I was excited because I saw a muskrat. I know JP's like, oh, boring. I'm from Kansas. He knew what it was. I had no idea what it was.
Well, at first I thought it was a beaver, but then when I could see the little tail, I knew it was a muskrat.
So it's the little things like that that I get excited about because that's not what you expect to see in the heart of the city. But then we were able to walk all the way into the historic center, and then we did that walk on the other direction to that incredible park with the Italian Renaissance fountain and that gazebo and all of that. Gosh, going to those parks, it just felt like we were completely transformed out of the city, especially that Renaissance style park with those vineyards, and it was so peaceful. Oh, just loved it. Walking there was great.
It was a bit hilly though, kind of like Malta, I guess.
It was.
And so there were lots of stairs here and there, and everything seemed like it was on an incline. Like when you left the river area, you were going uphill a lot of the time. The old town was pretty flat, but anywhere outside of there, it was a bit hilly. Plus there were cobblestone streets, and sometimes the sidewalks were uneven. So it wasn't as walkable as I would say Vienna was.
I would agree with that. I had to laugh. I just was remembering we saw those girls trying to walk around in their high heels. I would not recommend high heels to walk around Prague.
One of the things I loved, and we've loved throughout Europe really, is the Art Nouveau architecture. It was fantastic in Riga, but it was equally beautiful in Prague with all the different colors, the beautiful buildings, and everything was so well maintained. I was really impressed by that.
I was too, and I really appreciate how there wasn't a lot of different style architecture mixed in, meaning you didn't see a bunch of new modern glass buildings next to the older style. I really liked how they kept the new buildings looking the same as the old, so it really gave you that sense of cohesiveness, and that it just added to the whole overall charm of the city.
The city overall was very clean. We did see some street cleaners out, and there was some graffiti though, but God, that's so common in Europe. I'm just surprised how much graffiti we see in Europe.
But people were really nice. It was an interesting melting pot, which I always appreciate because I love hearing all of the different languages spoken. People were really friendly. Everybody spoke English. We didn't have any trouble communicating there. And I basically, since it's such a tourism hotspot, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's very pet friendly. We saw lots of dogs, and we even saw signs that said dogs welcome, which is funny because we're here in Kansas now and we see a sign that says, sorry, only service animals allowed by state law. So you can't even take your dogs in here by law. But in Europe, they were very welcome. We saw them in restaurants and grocery stores all the time.
I know, I love that. People take them on their train, and yes, it was really very sweet, and it's definitely very family friendly there, although of course we saw people our age and older too. But we felt safe walking around everywhere. I always appreciate seeing a bunch of families out, and it really helps me appreciate the fact that there obviously is a feeling of safety, and it is a safe environment. I mean, of course you have to be careful for pickpockets in the tourist areas and in the train station because it was so crowded, but it was nice to see people just walking around by themselves.
Yeah, we saw a lot of younger people too, like college age people. And we did see a couple people fighting over a primo spot, I guess, for begging, getting the handouts down by the astronomical clock. We saw that a couple times where people were fighting over a particular corner or spot.
Yeah, we've seen that pretty much throughout Europe, but heck, we've also saw that in Denver. I
Yeah.
mean, that just happens,
Yeah, it
unfortunately,
does.
but you do need to be alert for things like that.
All right, Amelia, let's talk about food. One of our, probably our favorite topic, I guess.
I don't know. I think walking may be my favorite topic, but food is a definite second. The restaurant scene there was wonderful. It was better than Riga, which really isn't surprising since Riga is a small capital city compared to Prague. But I thought it was also more affordable.
It was more affordable than Riga, but they're also on the crown, so the exchange rate was pretty favorable for us.
That's true.
Went to the ATM, but mostly we just used our credit card there. When we went to the farmer's market, we had to pay cash there, so we went to the ATM. And also the one restaurant, we had to pay cash. They didn't take credit cards.
The grocery shopping, however, I did not feel like that was as good, at least not where we were. If we were going to spend more time there, we would need to find a better grocery store because we checked out several and they were all small and they didn't have a lot of variety. But the farmer's market was phenomenal.
It was amazing. It was big. It's every Saturday, and there was all kinds of stuff down there.
Yeah, and you can find other farmers markets around town. We got some incredibly tasting fresh produce that ended up costing us around $9. I was very happy, and it was fun to go over there too.
It was. Now let's talk about tourism, and Prague is known for that because it's such a fantastic city. It does have some high and low seasons. We were there during the high season, so it was really crowded. They had those cruise ships come in on the river cruises, and when those were there, it was millions of people walking around the old town area, and that astronomical clock drew huge crowds because every hour on the hour it would go off and the little skeleton would ring its bells and the clock basically comes to life and everybody's there to see it.
Yep, and so were we.
Yeah, we were.
But it was easy to avoid. You can avoid the tourist area and still get out and do a lot of stuff. So I don't regret that we went during high season. I'm just really glad we chose not to stay right in the heart of it.
Yeah, the low season is November to March, except for Christmas and New Year's where it's really popular then too.
But if you want to go that time of year, you better be bringing some rain and cold weather gear because they do get rain and snow and it can be pretty chilly, like 30 and 40 degree highs.
So there's a ton of things to do there. We're not going to go into a lot of detail on this because it would be like a whole video for hours long to talk about everything to see and do. But we do want to mention our favorite spots. And one was that fortress along the river with amazing views. It's got this old church that's over 1,000 years old and a cool cemetery. And it's got a small vineyard and a cafe up there. But really, it's just you go up there to walk around the walls and look at the city. It's amazing.
It is amazing. Another popular attraction that you can walk from the fortress and see along your way to the old town area is the dancing building, which JP, I know you already mentioned that before, but it is worth bringing up again because it's so unusual after seeing all the other traditional architecture. Plus, along the way, there's little parks and beautiful flowers and then some statues. So there's a lot to see.
Yeah, the Charles Bridge is very crowded. It's a walking bridge over the river that takes you from the old town to the lesser town where the castle is. And the Prague Castle really was kind of mind-blowing up on that hill. And you can see that thing from miles and miles away.
Yeah, it was incredible. And I think that you could just go and spend a couple of days getting to know the whole other side, the lesser area. You could spend months and probably not see everything there is to see in Prague, let's face it.
Yeah, maybe lesser, but it takes more time.
One thing I found odd was those statues. And I don't know, my thought is that some of the statues and the stuff we saw was kind of macabre. And I know this is partly because it is an old city, so it's more medieval, but I don't understand people's mentality about having a statue in front of your home or your castle or whatever of somebody clubbing someone else to death. So that's just my random musings.
We've seen some interesting statues in
Yes,
Europe for
yes.
sure. So the Old Town Square, that's where the main historical buildings are, the astronomical clock and the Church of Our Lady Before Tyne, which looks like it's straight out of a fairy tale.
It does. The architecture, the historical buildings, stunning. I mean, the cobblestone streets, the little shops and the restaurants and everything around there, I absolutely loved it.
You know, there's a huge pedestrian area with lots of shopping down in there between the Old Town and the New Town area, outdoor cafes, which we enjoyed often, just sitting out having a lemonade lemonade and watching people walk by.
A lot of street buskers and entertainers too. We saw some really good acrobats and jugglers, all sorts of good stuff.
There's plenty of pubs and wine bars if that's your thing. The walk along the river is nice. You can take a river cruise.
You can get some exercise and rent one of those paddle boats, which I floated out there briefly, but then we were both like, nah, we're just going to walk around.
Yeah.
And also the sun was strong.
Yeah.
It was kind of hot.
The public art, the statues, the fountains, just walking around, checking out the museums. You could spend weeks there and not see it all.
So in case you guys can't tell, we really were blown away by Prague. And if you haven't been there, we highly recommend you put it on your list.
Yeah. The only real downside that we noticed was the noise. It was so noisy. It's by far the noisiest city that we've been to outside Latin America, I think. There was like constant sirens, loud motorcycles. They had a ton of these supercars, really expensive high-end sports cars, and they would just go zooming down the road and gun it between blocks.
It was surprising after being in so many quieter cities, but you're right, it still wasn't as bad as Latin America. However, we did have our windows open in our apartment. It was so perfect and comfortable with the breezes. I guess had we closed the windows, it wouldn't have been so bad. But the sirens were a bit perplexing because they were constant.
But maybe it's from all the tourists not watching where they're walking, tripping on those uneven sidewalks.
Let's hope not.
All right, we're going to talk about residency visa options next. There are a few. But first, if you want to explore the world slowly with like-minded travelers, then join our Turtle Travel Club.
We still have a spot left for the leap to Panama City, and we're about to announce our next leap to Bali, and we may even do one in Prague next year.
Yeah, I think we should. We checked out a venue while we were there. It was nice.
I know, we did find the perfect place.
Yeah, plus if you sign up now, you're going to get immediate access to our brand new slow travel e-course that will show you how to do what we do every single step.
Just scan this QR code or visit ameliaandjp.com/club to join the club.
Awesome. All right, Amelia, tell us about the visa options. Can we move there if we wanted to?
Well, you can move there as a freelancer or a digital nomad or as a retiree, but it's not as straightforward as some other countries, like Spain is the one I always like to reference, or Portugal. They no longer have a specific retirement visa like they used to. So right now they have a long-term visa, and you can apply for a variety of reasons like work or study or family reunification or other. And so the retiree can use the other category. If you're a freelancer or a digital nomad, they have what they call, I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly, the Zinvo visa, which is a long-term visa for business purposes. These are going to require your patience and a lot of paperwork and planning, but it is possible, and there are definitely people moving there and a lot of digital nomads too.
Yeah, I don't think it's as easy as it used to be because I think they were inundated for a while.
agree.
They've kind of sealed up those pathways because we've had some comments on our other videos from Europe from people in Czechia saying that we love the tourists, but don't move here, please. So, okay, understood. It is a beautiful country and a beautiful city, and I can see why people like it so much.
Me too, which is funny because when we first arrived, we were kind of sad to be there because we really started to feel at home in Vienna and Riga, but wow, we did not want to leave.
Yeah, everybody was right. I would say after we had been there for a few days, we really settled in and started enjoying the city, and we didn't want to leave. So I would say that the people who told us that were right. If you go to Prague, prepared to not want to leave.
Yeah, give yourself extra time to really explore everything. Although we were excited to leave just because we were so excited to go to our next destination.
I know we were, and it's going to be a good one. We're going to get some vindication, maybe, I guess, rebuttal video from one of our previous videos.
Yeah, JP's been waiting.
I know, I've been waiting. So what do you guys think about Prague? Have you been there? Is it a good place to visit or to live? Let us know in the comments.
And remember to check out the Turtle Travel Club and join us on a future leap.
If you're interested in other parts of Europe, then check out these videos next.
That's all we have for this video. Before you go, leave us a like. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Ciao.
Ciao.